Good morning. I'm Amy Henderson with the Georgia Municipal Association, and we are here live in the hall at GMA's 80th Annual Convention. We're here in the exhibit hall, and my co-host today is Lou Comer, who is our Director of Local Government Services. And we're going to talk about some of the things going on at GMA's convention, going on today and tomorrow at the convention. And one of the big things happening tomorrow is that Beth English, who is the Mayor Pro Tem of Vienna, is going to be sworn in as President of GMA, becoming the third city official from Vienna to be president of the organization, which is pretty cool. And I know when you were first elected, Beth, Willie Davis was president. He was the mayor of Vienna at the time, and he was president of GMA. And is he the one that got you involved?
He really is. I just thought that every time GMA's doors opened, I was supposed to be there because Mayor Davis was there. And I just have really enjoyed not only the training that we receive at things like this, but just the networking opportunities to really talk and share with folks about what's going on in their community, you know, take ideas away.
Yeah. It's a great learning
bit.
opportunity
Really
when everybody gets together. And I think, I think the people that don't know you, within the first 5 minutes of meeting you, they learn that you have such a huge, ginormous heart. I mean, that is when I think of you, that is one of the things that I think about is how you serve people in everything that you do when you're serving your folks in Vienna, when you're serving with GMA, and then there's a special population of people that you have, and you always make me cry, so I can't look at you. But there's a special population of folks that you have dedicated your life to. Tell us a little bit about what you do with Easter Seals and what you have done in, with your career with this.
Oh, well, for 37, goodness, I'm making it too long. For 37 years, I've worked on behalf of individuals with developmental disabilities. Those are people with Down syndrome, autism spectrum disorders, cerebral palsy, just a wide range of disabilities that occur before the person becomes 21 years old. And with Easter Seals, where I've been the executive director for the last 21 years, one of the most important things that I've done, or feel like I've done, is develop community residential options for individuals with disabilities. So we've built and purchased and also had homes donated to us to develop 3- and 4-person group homes in the community for people with developmental disabilities.
So they get to stay within the community that supports them.
Exactly. Close to family, close to those natural networks of people that have known them growing up. And we've always had amazing support from our cities. And I'd like to think it's a part of the fact, because of the relationship that I have with my fellow elected officials at the local level.
And also joining us this morning is Frank Berry, who is the director, and let's see if I can get this right, the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities.
That's right. Yes.
I've been practicing. And tell us a little bit about the population that you serve. Is it the same as Beth with the Easter Seals?
Thank you, and thanks for having me this morning.
Sure.
Beth is one of our high-quality private providers that does just incredible work in serving the people that we're responsible for serving as a state. People with developmental disabilities. We also serve a large number of people through our contracted providers and through our state hospitals with significant mental health challenges.
Okay.
Beth happens to focus on the developmental disability population, which is a significant area for us, mainly because people have historically had to live in state institutions, and the work that Beth has demonstrated and shown the state of how you can support people living in the community. And most people want to sleep in their own bed, not in a hospital bed, live in their own home, cook in their own kitchen.
And I know the Rome, Lou, up in your area, the Rome Hospital's closed up there, and then the one in Thomasville, which is my area of the state, is closing as well. So there is this movement to move people back into the communities. How is that working out, and how can cities be a part of making sure that this population of Georgians is taken care of and be a part of their lives?
I think you just touched on one of the biggest points, and that's a partnership. It has to be done in a partnership. About 3 years ago, Georgia signed a settlement agreement with the United States Department of Justice that forced the state into moving all individuals with developmental disabilities into the community. We didn't just do it because we were forced to. It's the right thing to do, but it takes communities like up in Rome who embrace this population and have a long history of advocating for that, and then getting high quality providers like Beth to develop those homes, working in concert with the cities and county government to allow for homes to be developed. And these, again, are people who are not a threat to the communities. These are people who the communities historically have really embraced. And I think that it's just one of those great opportunities for communities to take ownership of their citizens in a really, really incredible way.
Beth, you've been really involved with the Mayor's Motorcade that we do every year. How does this, and you were there when, I think the first time we did the motorcade in Rome after the hospital closed. How does that change the way we do the motorcade? I mean, I know we're still, the cities, because it is one of those things that our city officials with the Mayor's Christmas Motorcade, so many of them that participate say it's not Christmas until they participate, that's it right there for them. How does it change that?
I think in several ways. One, there will always be some state hospitals that will always need the type of support that we currently give. But the beauty of the changes that we'll hopefully be making in the Mayor's Motorcade is that cities won't have to drive to a state hospital. They can go around the corner to their neighborhoods, to their local disability day programs, and those people need that same support. We have a lot of people that are coming out of the hospitals who don't have family at all.
Right.
And without the support from the local communities, there will be no Christmas. It's the same thing, it's just in the neighborhood, which makes it so much easier. I know with our group homes, we've always had so much community involvement, and folks have literally adopted the residents, and it's just, I think it's enriching to both the residents of the home and then to the people who get involved in their lives, because they do learn, you know, so much about how you can communicate without ever saying a word.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, for Frank. With the work that you do and with the group homes, is there a process that someone goes through to begin to operate a group home?
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure there's all kind of credentialing and red tape and whatnot, but I'm just kind of curious, how do you, as a person, start a group home?
Great question. So you go through an application process, and it's two departments that Georgia oversees. One is the Department of Community Health, which provides the licensure for a group home of no more than 4 individuals, and it can be as many as 2 and up to 4, but the Department of Justice Settlement Agreement does not allow for more than 4 in a home. And then our department certifies those homes. Both departments provide oversight through audits and reviews and unannounced site visits. Sometimes they're announced. And you go through a pretty, almost a year-long process of applying to be a provider. And the home has to be at certain standards. There has to be certain structural infrastructure pieces that are put into place. And these are, for the most part, beautiful homes. I think one of the challenges that we've had is that there have been throughout Georgia unlicensed group homes that pop up that neither the Department of Community Health or the Department of Behavioral Health and Development of Disabilities has any oversight of. Okay. Those have really caused us some significant problems, and we're looking at ways to address that issue.
Okay. Do you think there's a role for cities to play in helping with those unlicensed group homes?
I absolutely do. I think it's a partnership between the city and the state and the city and the county, all three of us bringing to light the challenges that these unlicensed homes present, and that if we present in a united front, I've always believed that partnering is the way to go.
Yeah.
If the three entities, cities, counties, and state, all address this collectively, we'll have success in being able to get better control of those unlicensed homes.
And Beth, I love the idea that of you know, kind of adopting, you know, as a community, as a city council, adopting a group home and its residents and being part of their lives and finding ways to, you know, provide recreational opportunities or anything like that, you know, reading, anything along those lines.
And we do have a lot of that. We have folks that come in and volunteer on the weekends to just do an activity. You know, and that's the beauty of it. No matter what your passion is, whether it's gardening or if it's an arts and crafts or it's music, we have those community volunteers that come in and interact with the people that have lived there. And we've seen, the thing that's been so much fun is to watch our residents just thrive and grow and learn new skills, things that people had no idea they could actually learn to do, and they're doing it. One of our young ladies that lived 40 years at Central State Hospital is an honorary usher at her church, and she rolls down and hands out the programs awesome. On Sunday morning. So it's amazing what can happen when communities actually embrace people.
Right, that is awesome.
I have a question about the age of the people in the group home. Now, you mentioned in your work, Beth, you work a lot with children. And I know in my tenure with GMA of going to the state hospitals, the one in Rome anyway, was primarily, I guess, adults, not so much children. So are there some homes that are just for children? Are there other homes that are just for adults? How does that work?
So several years ago, a little over 2 years ago, Georgia passed legislation that no longer allows children into state hospitals. So the spigot was turned off of admissions into the state hospitals. So from that point forward, all people who needed support would get their support in the community. The people that are coming out of the institutions, for the most part, are over 20 years old now. All children have been taken out of the state hospitals. That happened about a year ago. We finished serving the last child in a state institution. Now, about the majority of the people probably are over 40 years old and have lived there most of their lives. And then there are a group from 20 to 40, much smaller, that have not been there quite as long, and those will all be coming out also by 2015.
Okay.
For children, though, with disabilities, if there is a need for an out-of-home placement, we've worked with what is called a host home, and it's very much like a foster home.
Okay.
But it has more specialized services. If there are therapies needed, if there's nursing oversight needed, because many of the children who were left in the state hospitals were very medically involved, and so there's a lot of RN oversight. The staff are all medical professionals and that come into the home, and so that's the way we've been able to guarantee, a safe and healthy transition.
And it is one of the most vulnerable aspects of our population, and I think easily overlooked. So it's awesome what you've done with your career in taking care of people.
I think one of the most unbelievable situations that we've run into is the various sides of advocacy. Younger parents with young children would not ever want their child to go into a state institution because as medical advances have come about, they see that they can be supported in the community. People who have had their loved ones in the state institutions for 40 and 50 years, that's what they're comfortable with, and they have seen their child, who's now 50 or 60 years old, receive great care, and that's what they want to continue. So it's a real shift of moving from an institutional-based model of care to community. I think it's a transition that takes time, and people have to be shown the value of what it's like when they live in the community.
And really, there were no community resources for families. Back in the 40s and the 50s and even the 60s. The community funding really didn't start until the 70s. And in the late 60s, Central State Hospital was 12,000 residents, which is bigger than most of our GMA cities.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, it's just a matter of families didn't have other options, and now they do. And that's one of the things that's been so exciting, and so I'm so blessed to have been a part of all that.
That's great. Well, I know that this year we're probably going to do a lot more with Mr. Berry's department, and we look forward to that. And any other big plans for your presidency? I know we've talked about taking over Tennessee, or certain
or at least getting their water.
Getting their water. Charleston is in our line of sight.
And let's not forget Tallahassee.
That's right, and Jacksonville. We'll just put them on notice. Any other big plans for your presidency?
I'm not telling quite yet. But thank you for letting us be here today.
Absolutely. We
really
appreciate it so much.
About
and
the year.
Look forward to you being sworn in tomorrow afternoon and hearing what your big plans for the year are. And our plans are. Make sure that matches. We're going to go check in with Aileen Harris out on the exhibit hall floor and see what exhibitor she has lined up. We've got a whole bunch of vendors here in the exhibit hall, and we really appreciate them being here and sharing their services and products with our city officials. Some great ideas for things out there that will help cities.